Hey folks, what's up? Roland Martin here. Of course, today is Monday, December 17th, 2018. Now, we were supposed to be off. We were supposed to be streaming some other different stuff. I gave my staff, of course, the last 2 weeks of the year off, which is what we traditionally did. Also, we at News One Now. But news never sleeps. And so today, we saw the New York Times story, this huge story dealing with the issue of voter suppression. Not voter suppression, but really how Russia targeted black people in 2016 presidential election, how they used Facebook and Instagram and Twitter to really put out some absolutely crazy and heinous stuff to really cause black people to not vote, to either hate Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, to sow dissension, and to really get things stirred up. And so I said, look, we certainly can't be on the sidelines, and we got to have a conversation. So I reached out to Malcolm Nance. Now, y'all know Malcolm, of course, is two books, really important books. I have both of them, folks. The first one was called The Plot to Hack America, How Putin's Cyber Spies and WikiLeaks Tried to Steal the 2016 Election. All those things that happened during the election, this guy predicted those things were going to happen. Okay, so that's first of all. His second book is called The Plot to Destroy Democracy, How Putin and his spies are undermining America and dismantling the West. And so earlier today, I caught up with Malcolm Nance and wanted to get his thoughts on this Senate Intelligence Report. The Senate Intelligence Committee report, it was leaked to the New York Times. It's going to be revealed, but trust me, folks, it is an explosive report. And many of us who were battling Russians in 2016 say, hello, we knew exactly what was going on. My conversation with Malcolm Nance. All right, Malcolm, let's get right to it. Now, this report that's been leaked to, the Senate report leaked to the New York Times, confirms what a lot of us who had to go through this in 2016 knew very well, how Russia was stirring up dissent among African Americans. They were targeting African Americans in the case with Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton.
Well, in fact, they were targeting the United States from many different perspectives. But now that we see through this report, African Americans had a very particular role that the Russians themselves wanted to use in order to damage Hillary Clinton. And as you say, we've been going at this for 2 years, 6 months, where certainly myself and Joy-Ann Reid on MSNBC have been hammering that this was a Russian operation from the very beginning. So now we know definitively that the Russia's Internet Research Agency did this campaign in order to get Donald Trump elected. But the voter suppression aspect of it, specifically targeting African Americans' fears, and we know our community, sometimes we can, the base of the Democratic Party is really African American women. And the place that we saw most of the true impact were amongst African American men. I had people in my own barber shop in Philadelphia tell me they weren't going to vote for Hillary Clinton because she was the lesser of two evils. She had blood on her hands. She's a corporatist. She didn't really care about African Americans. All of those themes are in the Senate report, and that the Russians had specifically targeted African Americans. Now, you have to understand, this goes back a long time. Back when the Soviet Union had the KGB, their intelligence organization, many of their campaigns were designed to split the black voter away from the United States government. One of their earliest ones the most successful disinformation campaign they did was early in the AIDS epidemic in the 1980s. The Russians made up the rumor that AIDS was actually a weapon created by the CIA to destroy the black and gay community. There are whole websites on the internet with that rumor today. So the Russians understood that race was going to be a very important component of this campaign. Donald Trump was going to be the vessel of American hatred, and that's how he was going to win, through the white vote. So they had to assist him by suppressing the black vote, and getting African Americans to vote against their own interest, and they did.
And we saw Malcolm. And look, I can remember just the deluge of comments on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Oh, super predators, and she doesn't care about black people.
Comment,
and
right.
then when you see, now granted, first of all, that there were people who were legitimately black people who we know, who were activists, who also were raising those issues. But to your point about black men, the numbers are clear. 94% of black women voted for Hillary Clinton. There was a 9-point gap that existed between black men and black women for Donald Trump. But there also was a 9-point gap that existed between black men and black women for Romney and Obama. And so to your point about what the Russians were doing, this whole deal of targeting again, and you're right, what black men were saying more than anybody else, she's evil, absolutely, she doesn't care about black people, remember what she said about Obama, and it was just this constant messaging, and it showed up in the research because it was the people who were 18 to 29 who had the lowest turnout among African Americans. That's who they were targeting.
That's right. And those people were actually Bernie Sanders supporters and people who were experimenting with the Bernie Sanders camp, which was another component of this black voter suppression campaign, which was to say, don't vote for Hillary Clinton, vote for Bernie Sanders, or even worse, Jill Stein. There was a meme that was in the Senate report that was put out on African-American channels showing Hillary Clinton with the super predators comment and white hands covered with blood, red blood. And it said Hillary Clinton under it. Then below it, they had these sort of brown, tannish hands that said Jill Stein with no blood, like Jill Stein was a black candidate. Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, literally sat at the table with Vladimir Putin, and is now in retrospect, many consider her. Whoops, sorry about that. In retrospect, many consider her a Russian-backed candidate.
And the thing that really was amazing, if you will, when you look at what took place all throughout this campaign. It was constant. It was constant. This is not to say that there were not African Americans who did not like Hillary Clinton. It is not to say there were African Americans who were not supportive of Bernie Sanders. And yes, there were some African Americans who were supporting Jill Stein legitimately. But what you had here, though, is you had the Russians. And I remember, Malcolm, on my Periscope feeds, all of a sudden, all of these Russian accounts flooding my Periscope feeds. And I'm sitting here blocking. And I'm sitting there going, what the? It ain't like what the hell? How all of a sudden Roland Martin is so popular with folks from Russia? I saw that constantly in 2015, 2016.
Absolutely. And the funny part about it is that here we are rolling into 2019, getting ready for our next election. We have just seen the true strength of the African-American voter come to its fore. But once again, it was African-American women who saved the Democratic Party in this last election, who, in fact, as I've written in my book, they've saved democracy, because this election was a referendum on whether the American experiment was going to continue or it was going to shift into autocracy. The Russians understood the strength of oppression in the United States, and they've known it for decades. And they decided to use that on one hand to suppress votes, but on the other hand, and I documented this in my book, Plot to Destroy Democracy, I documented where they were marionetting or using American citizens like puppets, hiring people on Craigslist in order to do political activities. And people thought that they were being hired by a white American to do political activities in order to advance African-American causes. And it was actually some kid 12 hours out in St. Petersburg, Russia, who understood fluent English, understood had studied African-American culture, knew what the issues were, but all of their themes were crafted by a foreign intelligence agency. It's going to be very hard to get that through the head of a lot of the knuckleheads in our community. But, and you know who the guys we're talking about, right? The guys who won't believe anything. The guys who, like I said, in my barbershop, literally sat in front of my face and said, well, Donald Trump said, what have we got to lose? Now we know what we have to lose, right? But now we also know that we were taken advantage of. We were manipulated. And we need to start saying that and saying it loud, because people make a joke out of it like, oh, it didn't really happen. Who, what, the Russians did it? We found in this report the Russians were mocking us with the phrase, what do you think, the Russians did it? And it was actual Russian entities pretending to be Americans mocking us about Russia's interference. They have harnessed freedom of speech as a guided weapon system pointed at the heart of democracy. But first, I guess they decided to kill off the black voter, as that, and to, separate us from democracy because they thought we were easy. And I think that now that this information is out, there should be a backlash. In fact, a blacklash against any of these memes that are trying to split us from the party. And I'm not talking about, the usual suspects like Candace Owens, who were out there calling us on the Democratic plantation. She actually said that to me a couple of weeks ago in a green room. And oh, man.
Well, hold on. First of all, Malcolm, this is the same Candace Owens who had the nerve to say that the reason she mocked me is because I call her an Uncle Tom, which I've never called anybody, and I don't use those phrases. But the reality is she's been running from me to debate me. She wants to debate him and Charlie Kirk. But that also tells you, again, how they're not serious. But here's the other thing. What does this also say, Malcolm? This is also critically important. What does this also say to the likes of Facebook, of Twitter, of Instagram, that also why it's important for them as they're sitting here funding news shows and doing things, also to be also funding credible black news sources who are actually real, because that was the other deal as well. When you have this gap here, this is a credibility issue. I know for my audience, they're like, Roland, we know you, we trust you, and we know what you're going to present. That's the other piece. People were accepting information. Oh, they got 100,000 followers, and they were Russians.
Right. And the biggest one, right? 366,000 followers, African Americans, right? Following a fake Russian site that was pumping out all of this information that subtly was pushing Trump and defaming even African-American politicians. And, this is what's interesting about the Russian intelligence services. They understand over in Russia and other parts of the world, conspiracy theory is rife. People believe those things. And we think that we were educated out of that. Now we're finding out that vast parts of our community will believe crazy things like sovereign citizen philosophy, that you don't have to be an American citizen. You can just declare that you belong to, the something or another nation, or that, your politicians are killing your babies. That theme that the African Americans are going through a genocide. Look, we're not stupid. Okay. We've developed in my family, as you know, served in the armed forces since 1864, nonstop up till today. We have paid for the American experiment to progress and to better itself. But we also need to be aware, like I wrote in Plot to Destroy Democracy. I have 4 chapters on how Russia manipulates people and information, including a threat of assassination against myself. 2 years ago, 2017, at Politicon, and people were told to come see me be killed. And it turns out we had tracked it out to a VPN that was entering the United States in Denver, but was originating in St. Petersburg. So anyone who is a leader within our community or a loud voice, you're a threat. And those people are discredited or They just build up a website and pretend to be African Americans or hire African Americans and manipulate you. Freedom of speech is manipulable in the same way that any other propaganda is. But your ability to critically process data and learn to use the education that our forefathers and ancestors died to give us, you can actually learn how to read and identify this propaganda. If it's too good to be true or it's too far outside the mainstream, you've been hustled.
So what do we do for 2020? Because the reality is the Russians they are not going anywhere. They want to keep Donald Trump in the White House. And so what do you suggest happens between now and the 2020 election, specifically as it relates to African Americans who I believe, and I think probably you as well, will be under vicious attack, targeting again by the Russians in 2020?
I'll tell you, sunlight is the greatest disinfectant for political propaganda and attempts to manipulate you. But the problem is that the disseminating the word within our own community, right? Big shows like yours, great. Magazines like The Root, awesome. People see us on television all the time, but it doesn't filter down to the street level. And that's where the Russians are targeting. They're not targeting you. They're not talking to you and me. They're on the Offset and Cardi B Twitter feeds, right? And they're out there. They will push the worst themes of our community: drugs, guns, rap music, and they will ignore Michelle Obama because they know the people who will believe this silliness are the people who would believe, who don't advance themselves as quickly as you and I would like them to advance.
And their motive is not to actually get black folks to vote for Trump. Their motive is for us not to vote.
Not to vote at all. I said this on Bill Maher's show. They have weaponized apathy. And they have now seen the African American vote. And it's a stereotype. Russia is a horribly, horribly racist country. Okay.
Now, first of all, let's break down historically. Historically, the Soviet Union was a place where the likes of Paul Robeson and others were fighting racism in America. Remember Angela Davis? It was the Communist Party that's how free Angela Davis became this worldwide phenomenon. Putin ain't the same as the Soviets who were fighting America and who were blasting America for racism in the days of Paul Robeson. I'm not saying they were perfect, but the bottom line is they were calling America out rightfully when it came to racism. Putin is a racist. Putin is a white nationalist.
Right. Unfortunately, the Soviet Union, when they supported Angela Davis and Paul Robeson, did it strictly for political propaganda purposes. They were really not in favor of Angela Davis, and the Black Panthers getting equality. They would just use that to show that the capitalist system was fundamentally racist. And now Russia has become that capitalist system. Russia is a fundamentally conservative nation. They hate gays. They hate viscerally blacks. Now they have become this supersized version of a fascist light nation run by a dictator who remembered that the Soviet Union created all of this anti-black propaganda and has archives of propaganda that they could use to put in let's just call him a fascist, an autocratic president of the United States who would be the first guy to start breaking down democracy. So like my friends at the barbershop said, what do we have to lose? All of your rights, all of your ability to go on the street and not feel like you're going to be shot with cops. He's trying to get a special forces soldier off today who the military is charged with murder. On the same day that we're celebrating I think it's the 75th anniversary of the massacre by Germans of 84 American soldiers, including black soldiers in World War II. We just are being taken out of the norms by a group of people that is led by an ex-KGB officer. Remember them, the bad guys. And so we're being suckered. And the only way to get around that is people have to start confronting bad information. So when you hear someone in the street say, oh no, sovereign citizens have free rights under Donald Trump, which I have just, someone came on my Twitter feed to say that silliness, right? An African brother. And I have to go, you're a moron. No, that's not the way it is. And that's the sunshine they cannot take. They cannot take being called out and shown what the facts are.
Well, it's the same thing when our people's like, oh my God, you're in the boule. Y'all control Black America. Shut up. It's just a lie. You're in the fraternity. Oh, you guys are the secret society. I'm like, shut the hell up. I slam them, the Illuminati, all these crazy people, because you're right. It's planting seeds of distrust. And this is why, if you, all of our entertainers out there and our sports figures, it has to be literally a community saying we are going to have disinfectant and we're going to sit here and go after all of you and blast you and wipe you out, because they're trying to sow seeds of discontent to keep us from voting, because they know the power of our vote. And that's how in Michigan, he won in Pennsylvania, he won in Wisconsin, he won in Ohio, in North Carolina, and Florida, because Black people, our votes were down. I'm not saying the election was it was all about us, but when we don't vote in significant numbers, then our power is simply going to waste.
Right, absolutely. And African American women have led the way on that. They are the true base of the Democratic Party. And ladies, all right, it's time to talk some common sense into these guys' heads, because they are literally following Russian propaganda.
And this is the last point here. This is not a vote Democrat conversation. This is a vote conversation. And this is us being smart enough to understand how the Russians are using oppression against us to support somebody who believes in oppression.
Yeah, they'll further his goal of oppression by pretending to be an ally. That is the classic definition of misinformation and manipulation. The key is to be smart enough to know it's going on. And, you know, we all know the street lawyers out there who will say, no, man, y'all just don't understand. You don't understand. A foreign power of white Europeans are leading you literally around by the nose ring. And they have their people in their community out there. Oh, by the way, that comment about Uncle Tom, big fan of Uncle Tom. Y'all need to read Uncle Tom's Cabin. He was the hero at the end of the book by sacrificing his life. So I always make a point of that. He helped the two slaves escape and knew he was going back to his death. So let's stop using that phrase. But those people who cooperate in that community and who will literally call people from our own community names because we are aware of the manipulation.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, whoever.
Malcolm Nance, always a pleasure, man. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. All right, folks, that was my conversation with Malcolm Nance, and so certainly hope you appreciate that. Now, here's a word from one of our partners. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Now, a word from one of our Roland Martin Unfiltered partners. You've heard me say it before, and I will say it again. Write down this website, marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. I'm going to tell you why it matters. Legal marijuana has grown to become a $9 billion industry in roughly 6 years. Forbes magazine predicts the market will continue to grow to nearly $50 billion in the next 10 years. So whether you like it or not, legal marijuana is a growing industry, and it is only going to get bigger. Now, if you're an investor, you get it. You look for business models that are easy to understand in industries that are trending up. Our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate made their business very simple. They buy land that supports legal marijuana operations and lease it to high-paying tenants. So you are investing in the landlord of a licensed marijuana farm. Stop working so hard for your money. Let your money start working for you by investing in the legal cannabis industry. You can invest as little as $300 up to $10,000. But you can't wait. This crowdfunding opportunity is only available for a few more days. They say that you either make things happen, watch things happen, or sit around wondering what happened. Don't be the person watching and wondering. Don't let another investment boom get away from you. It's time to make something happen for you, your finances, and your family. And don't forget my pro tip. To be included, you must complete and confirm your application. And be sure to complete the process. Go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Get in the game, folks. Do it now before time runs out. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. All right, folks, Roland Martin back. All right, so here's the deal. The NAACP, and I got this email over the weekend from the NAACP that's dealing with the issue of Facebook. And so what they announced was this whole issue of Facebook and how they're going to launch something tomorrow where they're asking people to actually log off. And so this was the email. We expect better from Facebook. And so it was the email that went out on December 15th, 7:33 p.m. And it says, over the last year, the NAACP has expressed concerns about the numerous data breaches and privacy mishaps in which Facebook has been implicated. And since the onset of the Silicon Valley boom, we have been openly critical about the lack of employee diversity among the top technology firms in the country. Now the time has come for our collective actions to emulate the severity of mistrust we have in Facebook. They also talked about, of course, Facebook targeting Color of Change, another civil rights organization. And so what the NAACP is launching as of tomorrow is called #LogOutFacebook. And so what it is they say #LogOutFacebook is a protest, a way to signify to Facebook that the data and privacy of its users of color matter more than its corporate interests. The NAACP also announced that they returned a donation that was given to the NAACP from Facebook. They say, we're calling on supporters to log out of Facebook and Instagram on Tuesday, December 18th. We implore you, our partners, friends, and supporters to join us. And so this was a letter that went out from Derek Johnson. Now, according to this, I'm double checking, first of all, to see if this is actually going to be for the week, or is it just for tomorrow? So that's first. That's the first thing I am looking at in terms of, just want to double check in terms of exactly, is it one day or is it the week? And so we're actually checking on that. So here's how this is going to impact us. And so first, we are not, so I just want all y'all to pay attention, okay? We are going to join with the NAACP. And so we are not going to be live streaming Roland Martin Unfiltered tomorrow on Facebook. Okay? Listen to me. So we're not going to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to now, follow me here. They're asking to log off. So what we're going to do is we're going to probably send out 4 alerts a day. And so we'll send them at different times on Facebook and Instagram, telling our folks why we are not live streaming. And so that's one of the things that we are going to do. Obviously, this is a decision that impacts our viewers, because the reality is we get people who watch us on Facebook as well. But I do think it's important for us to stand with the NAACP in this particular call as well. And so what's going to happen is we will be live streaming the show on YouTube. We will be on YouTube tomorrow. We'll be on YouTube tomorrow. And so just letting you guys know, so we will not be live streaming Roland Martin Unfiltered on Facebook. I made that decision. It's a decision that is up to me. I own the company. It's my show. And I think it's important for us to stand in solidarity with the NAACP. We, of course, we cover any number of issues, and we do that. And this is also, it is important because the serious nature in terms of what they did with Color of Change. We had Rashad Robinson on the show talking about that, and we've covered this. And so there are a number of issues that we have covered. And so we want you to do this as well. And so they're asking folks, because remember, Facebook also owns Instagram. Facebook also owns WhatsApp. And so that's one of the things that we'll be doing. And again, so while I'm double checking, again, how long they are saying this is going to be. And so I'm going to pull this story up here, and I'm checking right now. if is it a day or is it a week? Let's see here. Okay, so what they're asking is, the NAACP is asking for people to log off of Facebook and Instagram for 1 week. To log off Facebook and Instagram for 1 week. What we are going to do, because we do stream the show, what we will do is we will post 2 to 3 times a day. We will post on Facebook and Instagram that we will be live streaming our show on YouTube. And for folks to watch the show on YouTube, I want you to share that as well. In fact, what I want you to do is I want you to go to youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. Again, I want you to go to youtube.com/Roland S. Martin to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can also, again, watch our clips and watch the show on the YouTube channel. What the NAACP is doing is important. It is important for our voices to be heard, African Americans. We over-index on Facebook. We over-index on social media. The technology companies need to recognize that we do have that level of power. And those of us, we should have the courage to actually utilize our particular power. And so again, I'm sort of augmenting it only for the purpose of, I've got 1 million followers on Facebook. We've got about almost 300,000 on Instagram. So we want to tell people where we're going to be. Where it's like all of a sudden, like, okay, what happened? So the NAACP plans on beginning tomorrow, December 18th. What they're saying is they want people to log off of Facebook, and it begins for a week. The hashtag is called, like I told you, the hashtag is called log off Facebook. And again, this email went out on the 15th from the NAACP. And so we are going to stand with them. And so hashtag log out Facebook, not off, log out. Hashtag log out Facebook. And so they're asking folks to do it for a week. And that is so tomorrow, December 18th through, of course, ending, I guess, or concluding on Christmas Day, December 25th. One lasts a week. So there you go. And so we will not be live streaming our show on the platforms for that week. And so that's it there. And so again, I want to thank Malcolm Nance. I want to thank all of you for watching as well. Sorry for the technical glitch. Just so you know, normally we do the show. Look, I don't have an issue explaining this to you guys. So normally what we do with the show is we do the show in studio. And we got the whole setup and everything along those lines, our computers and everything. So for the final 2 weeks of the year, I gave my staff off from doing the show. And so as a result, I'm actually at home in my library. So I'm using Teradek's Live Air Action app, which allows me to play videos, allows for me to do overlays and things along those lines. Well, not the case. So something happened with this app where it just shut down in the middle of the Malcolm Nance interview. I'll be reaching out to them tomorrow to figure out what the hell happened. How do we avoid that? Because I want to be able to use the app for some other stuff as well. But that's what we're doing. Now, here's the deal, okay? If anything happens again like today with the Russian story, well, I'll just do what I did. I'll interview somebody, I'll save it, and then we'll actually go live. What we're going to be doing is, over the next week, the interviews that you're going to be seeing, I talked to James Prince, Rap-A-Lot Records, about his new book, about his life. We have not shown that interview before. You're going to see that interview. We got some interviews with some civil rights leaders. We'll have that as well. Some of our best of interviews, we'll have those this week as well. So we're putting together compilation shows and putting together these interviews of book authors we've talked to as well. And so we're going to be live streaming that stuff out between now. We're going to return. Our plan is to return back for in-studio everything by January 3rd when Congress reconvenes in Washington, D.C. But again, if anything happens, if any news breaks, anything happens that's pertinent to black folks, then you can fully expect to see me live. And it may not be even live like this. It may not be, like I say, in our studio, but we'll be live. And so just understand that's one of the things that I'm committed to do. So news is news. And so we want to, that's one of the things that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing, okay? So I'm just letting y'all know what's going to be happening. And so I'll be here. We'll be covering stuff. And like I say, man, we will jump out here and make this thing happen as best that we can. And so we're trying different technology in order to make this thing work. And so that's what we're looking forward to doing. All right, folks, don't forget, I need y'all to do me this favor. And this is really important. This is really important. We need you to join our fan club. We need you to join our fan club for the purpose of helping us fund this show. Now, I've had people hit me like, oh, do we get a hat? Do we get a shirt? Well, first of all, that's money that we actually got to spend. And so here's a piece. What I'm trying to do is, as we're building this, we want you to become a charter member of our fan club. Now, once we, again, build up our revenue, then we'll be able to send, a token of our appreciation to our followers. But every single dollar that is contributed goes to this show, goes to staff, goes to travel, goes to equipment, all those different things. And so we have a video of all of our different supporters that we'll be running a couple times a week, and we want you to be on that. The reason I'm saying that, I mean, I've got in my library right now. Matter of fact, you know what? I can move around, so there's no sense in. I don't have to stay stuck right here. So let me help y'all out. So I'm not tethered to anything. So I just want y'all to understand. Okay, so let me switch the camera angle. Okay, where am I? Okay. So this is my library. So you'll see these are all of all the volumes, Dr. King's writings, all these different books, and then you see I got more books up here, and then you see I got a ton of media books. And so you see over here, I got the books dealing with Ida B. Wells and black newspapers and all these different historical books that we have here. These are all media books. Okay, these are all media books that I have here. Media companies in terms of, CBS and Time and New York Times and Time Life, the Hearst, and all those different stuff like this. And so I'm saying all of that is because the reality is this is what we call legacy media. You'll see the book there on Walter Cronkite, and you'll see Barbara Walters, and Mike Wallace, Larry King, Peter Jennings, all these folks. And again, these are all my books, dealing with our history. And Paul Robeson there, The New Jim Crow, and Will Haygood and Thurgood Marshall, his book, and Alvin Ailey and Jackie Robinson, and all this sort of stuff. Okay, so those are all our historical books. But the reality is here, we have to have our own media. Let me say that again. We have to have our own media. We have to have media that's telling our story. And so what we need you to be partners with us in that. This show is about telling our story. And this is not just about this show. This is also about literally building a network. I've had numerous people come up to me who want us to do other shows. I had people, oh man, but if you can do this, I mean, they've been hitting us up about doing other shows. Well, that's exactly what we plan on doing. But you got to build one successful show to build a second show, to build a third show, to build a fourth show, and do a network. There are people who said, man, you guys should be doing documentaries. That's our plan. It's our plan, and we've done documentaries. Man, I would love for y'all to do broadcast live from this event. That's what we plan to do. But the reality is that's also a resource issue. We know we've got events coming up next year. We've got NBA All-Star Game, Super Bowl in Atlanta. You've got NAACP Image Awards will be in March. You've got other events that will be going on. We'll be broadcasting from. But the reality is we have to have your support as well. And so I want you to go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And so like right now, I'm looking. And so, yes, I do. Somebody like, yeah, some of y'all, are y'all seriously? Y'all serious? Somebody goes, no Michael Eric Dyson or W.B. Du Bois. Yes, Du Bois' Reconstruction book is over there. I've got numerous Michael Eric Dyson books. I could turn over my shoulder, and I got the Cornell West Reader that's right here. And so, really, y'all, I got 1,000+ books in my library. And like somebody gonna actually say, like, oh, no Dyson or this. Y'all stop it, whatever. Okay? So, all right, so here's a piece, okay? What you guys can do is, are you on Patreon? Yes, I think we are. We're on Patreon. But this is what you can do, okay? Right now, go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. It's RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can do a one-time donation. You can do a monthly donation to support the show. And I'm going to go to it right now. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, okay? And so you can join us. My goal, here's what my goal is at the end of 1 year. We launched September 4th. The goal is September 4th, 2019. We want to be able to have 20,000 people who have joined our Bring the Funk fan club. We've hit about 1,000 thus far. I would love for us to have 1,000 more people in the next 30 days. As I'm looking at here right now, we've got almost 500 people who are watching us right now on YouTube. The number actually is... let's see. My guy said no Patreon. We got to talk about that because Patreon also works a little bit different. And then also, we got about 140 folks who are on Facebook right now. I double checked, and I think we've got more. I saw about 298 on Periscope as well. So here's the deal, okay? If just want you to understand. So if I've got 100 plus people on over here on Periscope, and then we've got 140 on Facebook right now. We had about 300 earlier, and then so let's say you take the almost 500 we've got on YouTube. Okay, so let's just say that's 750 people. Just want y'all to understand something. If 750 people gave an average of $50 for the year, okay, it's $4 a month. That's all it is. Okay. It's about $37,500. All right, that's what I'm talking about. I've had people who've given us $100, $500, and we appreciate everybody who's given us $5 all the way up. But the point is this here: we have to actually build it. It's a matter of hiring staff. It's a matter of hiring producers, hiring folks who can shoot, who can edit, who we can send out and tell our story. And so we want you to become a charter member of our fan club to make it happen. Do we have advertising? Yes. But is it enough? No. This is also what I talk about. I call Fund Our Freedom. So that's what we want you to do and join our fan club. I'm going to put together, we've done other videos that we've sent out and posted trying to get people to support as well. So that's one of the things that we're going to keep doing. But right now, you can jump on our website, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can give through the Cash App. You can do it through Square. You can do it through PayPal. And again, you can give a one-time donation. You can give a monthly donation. Every single dollar goes to this. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, how committed am I? Well, it's very simple. We launched in September. I haven't taken the check. Because I've made sure that all of our dollars are going to our staff, are going to our resources. I mean, that's just what we have been doing. And so, the thing is, and don't want to pay myself, of course. My deal is I'm living off of my speeches. And so that's also why if you want to book me for speeches, go to RolandSMartin.com/speaking. That's important as well. But that's how, because I'm committed to actually building this. And I love these. I love the haters. Like, oh, you couldn't work here. Yeah, guess what, y'all? I've worked at CNN for 6 years, 13 years at TV1. I've run black newspapers as well. But I also understand that, you know what? I'm not trying to ask somebody, can I go cover this? I'm not trying to go ask somebody, hey, can I please go interview Senator Kamala Harris? Can I go interview Senator Cory Booker? Can I go interview the mother of the young man who was found hanged in St. Louis? Can I please go cover Ben Crump? Can I go? No, see, I'm not trying to ask permission from somebody else and have them determine what the story is. See, y'all hear what I said? I'm not trying to do that. I want to be able to determine the stories that we cover. So E.J. Bradford, we want to be able to determine that we're going to cover this every single day. Not take a back seat. See, that's what it means by controlling the narrative, being in control of your own destiny. And let me be also clear. I've had conversations with people at Essence. I've talked with people at Ebony. I will, I mentioned it to the folks at Black Enterprise. I have no issue partnering with anybody. Byron Allen, has the griot. I've reached out to them as well. I got no issues there as well. I got no issues partnering with anybody in this space because I believe we need to have scale. But in the absence of other companies doing that, I said I'm going to launch it myself. That's what Robert Abbott did with Chicago Defender. That's what Ida B. Wells Barnett did. That's what Frederick Douglass did with the North Star. That's what A.I. Scott did with the Atlanta Daily World. We have a long history of African Americans understanding the value of media. That's why we want you to also support us as well. So I got to go, y'all. Again, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, where you can actually join our Bring the Funk fan club, become a charter member. And yes, this is a show, but the plan is to build this thing out to a network, and that's what we're doing. Okay? All right, y'all. Don't forget to share this video. Don't forget, tomorrow, I'm not going to be live streaming on Facebook. Everybody on Facebook, please go to YouTube. Sign up right now to our subscription. And last thing, set your live notifications. This is critically important. Turn on your live notifications on Periscope, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. So when we go live, it automatically pops up on your phone. And if you're not getting notifications, and here's the other issue with Facebook. Facebook has been doing it to us. So a lot of my followers have not been getting live notifications. And I've had a meeting with Facebook on that saying, y'all need to fix this issue because it is a problem in your app. And so that's one of the things that we're also working on as well. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. We got some great programming lined up for you. I don't want you to miss it. And again, become a charter member at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, I got to go. I'll holler at y'all later.